Imagine a secret Japanese submarine carrying gold, rubber, and top-secret technology, sailing halfway across the world to aid Nazi Germany, only to be hunted down in the dark Atlantic by American bombers. What followed was a deadly underwater game of cat and mouse, recorded live with chilling sounds of explosions, sonar echoes, and a submarine's final moments beneath the waves. Stay with us to uncover this dramatic and lesser-known chapter of World War II, where intelligence, technology, and bravery collided deep in the ocean. This video aims to talk about the attack and eventual sinking of the Japanese Imperial Navy submarine, known as I-52, which happened during the night of June 24, 1944. In this video, we'll also hear the actual sounds that were recorded during the attack, and I'll describe what was happening at each point so the sounds match the events. This is the 14th part in the channel's series that focuses on the fight between bombers and submarines during the Battle of the Atlantic. During World War II, Japan maintained trade links with Germany. This was detailed in a declassified report from August 1945 by the U.S. Military Intelligence Division, titled German Technical Aid to Japan. All the pictures shown in this video have also been declassified, based on agreements made in January 1943 and March 1944. Germany had promised to provide Japan with various supplies, like raw materials, military gear, machinery, technical drawings, and specialized knowledge. These exchanges were to be carried out using surface ships and submarines that ran blockades. Japan was particularly keen to get materials that would help them fight back against air raids by the American B-29 bombers. The Japanese wanted information and supplies related to jet engines, rocket-powered planes, technology to make piston-engine planes perform better at high altitudes, early warning radar systems, and weapons designed to shoot down enemy planes. In total, Japan sent 4 submarines on risky trips to Europe for this purpose. As mentioned in a special U.S. Navy cryptology document focused on the Battle of the Atlantic, the mission was extremely dangerous, and out of the 4 submarines, only 1 successfully made it to Europe and back. 2 of the submarines were destroyed while coming home, and the 4th submarine was the I-52. This vessel was loaded with about 270 tons of valuable cargo, including tin, rubber, tungsten, molybdenum, and gold. Additionally, it carried 14 engineers and government officials. Unfortunately for the Japanese, the I-52 was sunk before it could reach Europe. The danger wasn't just limited to the Japanese. German blockade-running submarines also faced deadly risks. Out of 41 German U-boats sent to the Far East, only 4 survived the full round trip. The loss of I-52 was officially recorded in a 1947 document titled Japanese and Merchant Shipping Losses during World War II by all causes. The sinking of I-52 is listed under June 1944 in this report. That month turned out to be particularly disastrous for Japan's Imperial Navy, as they had also lost 3 of their fleet aircraft carriers just days earlier during the Battle of the Philippine Sea, which was the largest battle involving aircraft carriers facing off against each other in World War II. The I-52 began its journey from Japan on March 10, 1944. The trip from Japan to Germany typically took about 3 months, because the submarines had to travel the long route around Africa to avoid Allied detection and attacks. The I-52 was a large transport submarine, weighing about 2,500 tons. Unfortunately, no actual photographs of the I-52 exist, but we do have pictures of its sister submarine, the I-53. These Japanese submarines were massive, roughly 4.5 times larger in weight compared to the typical German Type 7 U-boats. At the time, the I-52 was considered one of the largest and most advanced submarines that Japan had built. Some details about the I-52 can be found in a U.S. Naval Intelligence Manual from June 1945 that examined the Japanese Navy. According to that document, the I-52 weighed around 2,800 tons and was about 360 feet in length, which is just a bit shorter than a Fletch-class destroyer. It was safely tested to operate at depths of up to 295 feet. The submarine had a cargo capacity of about 250 tons. The plan was for the I-52 to meet up with the German submarine U-530 at 9:15 p.m. on June 23, 1944. The rendezvous spot was carefully chosen to be far away from the range of Allied long-distance patrol planes. A map from an August 1943 anti-submarine command report shows the areas covered by these patrol aircraft. The meeting with I-52 took place just outside of these danger zones. During the rendezvous, The German U-boat transferred to radio specialists to the I-52, along with a device designed to detect radar signals from enemy planes. Once the exchange of people and equipment was finished, the I-52 proceeded toward the Bay of Biscay, where it was supposed to unload its cargo. What neither the Germans nor the Japanese knew was that the Allies had already learned about this secret meeting, thanks to intercepted communications from the Ultra program. As a result, the Allies sent an aircraft carrier to intercept and destroy the submarines. The carrier used was the USS Bogue, a smaller type of carrier designed for escort missions, as seen in pictures from that time. The Bogue was part of a special U.S. Navy group, tasked with hunting and eliminating U-boats. The USS Bogue carried 24 aircraft, which included 12 Wildcat fighter planes and 12 TBF Avenger torpedo bombers. Like the one shown in period photographs, the Avenger planes were specifically equipped to find and destroy submarines. They were fitted with ASB series medium-wave radar, which, according to a 1943 radar operations manual, could detect submarines from up to 15 miles away. The Avengers also carried a range of weapons and tools for anti-submarine warfare. Their payload included 2 Mark 54 depth bombs, 6 sonar buoys used to listen for submarine sounds underwater, and a single Mark 24 Fido torpedo, which was designed to home in on the sounds made by submarines and follow them until impact. The Fido torpedo was positioned in a specific location in the bomber's payload, much like how it is shown in diagrams of the Avengers' armament. This image shows the type of bomb that was used, which held about 250 pounds of explosives inside. For the bomb to destroy a submarine, it needed to explode within 25 feet of the submarine's main pressure hull. The bomb was designed with a special hydrostatic fuse, meaning it would only trigger once it reached a depth of 25 feet underwater. The TBF Avenger aircraft could also detect underwater sounds by deploying sonar buoys, which were dropped into the ocean to pick up noise made by the submarine's propellers. In addition to depth charges, the TBF carried a special kind of torpedo, called the Mark 24 acoustic homing torpedo. This torpedo could track the sound of the submarine and guide itself toward the noise, detonating when it made contact with the target. A 1946 report by the National Defense Research Committee, focusing on submarine warfare and underwater acoustics, includes an image showing how this torpedo worked. The channel has already covered the use of depth charges, sonar buoys, and acoustic torpedoes in more detail in previous videos, specifically parts 5, 12, and 13. On the night of June 23, 1944, a TBF Avenger from Composite Squadron VC-69 detected the I-52 submarine using its onboard radar while still 10 miles away. A map included in the mission report of the TBF shows the sequence of events that occurred during the tracking and the attack. And I'll guide you step by step while we listen to the actual recordings made during the operation. When the aircraft got to within 1 mile of the submarine, the crew opened the bomb bay doors and dropped 2 smoke markers, along with a purple-colored sonar buoy, to mark the location. As they closed in to about half a mile, they fired a Mach 6 parachute flare to light up the dark waters and make the submarine visible. The first attack involved dropping 2 Mark 54 depth bombs, which exploded on the starboard right side of the I-52. Although these explosions may have caused some damage, they were not enough to sink the submarine. In response to the attack, the I-52 quickly dove underwater, likely following a dive profile that was outlined in an April 1944 report by the Chief of Naval Operations, titled German and Japanese Submarines and Their Equipment. The I-52 had been pressure tested to operate safely at depths up to 295 feet, and would have reached that depth in approximately 3.5 minutes after submerging. Meanwhile, the TBF aircraft began to slow down by making figure-8 flight patterns, which helped reduce its speed to the roughly 120 miles per hour required to safely release the Mark 24 homing torpedo. Due to a minor issue, the torpedo was not launched immediately, but the crew dropped an orange-colored sonar buoy near the spot where the submarine had gone under. The plane made 2 right-hand turns, and then finally dropped the Mark 24 torpedo in the general area where they estimated the I-52 to be. They also deployed a blue sonar buoy while heading south, a red buoy to the north, and a yellow buoy to the west, with the orange buoy in the center. These sonar buoys formed a pattern to help them monitor sounds from different directions. As they listened, the crew could hear the churning of the submarine's propeller blades, the distinct sound of the torpedo making contact, and then the loud noise of explosions. They also heard large amounts of air escaping from the submarine's structure, which was beginning to collapse under pressure. Additional explosions were recorded. By the next day, oil slicks and pieces of debris were seen floating at the site of the attack. Some of the debris included rubber blocks from the cargo that I-52 was carrying. Interestingly, at that time, Germany's rubber stockpile was so low that, as noted in a January 1944 German naval war diary, they only had enough rubber to last until November of that year. That is why the Germans emphasized the need for blockade-running submarines to bring in more rubber to keep their supply lines active until the end of 1944. There were even discussions within the German Navy about towing underwater containers filled with essential materials to extend their cargo capacity. Now let's listen to the actual audio recordings taken during the operation, which captured the crew's conversation and the sounds picked up by the sonar buoys. These recordings come from air patrols flying over the Atlantic during the early summer of 1944. The recording starts when a plane on patrol detected a submarine on the surface using radar. As the aircraft closed in, the submarine started diving to escape. A sonar buoy was dropped into the water to track the sub. Since the buoy was an older model and not the improved one, A-type, some background buzzing and microphone-like interference was present. This was partly caused by the plane's ignition system, but despite this, the clear rhythmic sounds of the submarine's propellers could be heard, sounds that were similar to those made by smaller submarines used by the Allies themselves. You can hear these propeller beats through the sonar buoy, followed by the moment of the explosion at 11:47 p.m. Then there is a burst of noise, and the crew can be heard discussing the buoy markers, emphasizing the importance of placing smoke markers to help track their positions accurately. As the recording continues, the sound of air escaping from the submarine can be heard, a sign that the vessel was being crushed under the pressure of the deep sea. After the explosive sounds quieted down, the crew reported hearing strange crunching noises, which they described as sounding like someone stepping on a tin can or breaking a bunch of dry sticks. Shortly after, more sluggish, muffled explosive sounds were recorded, followed again by the eerie crunching. A bit later, the crew detected two sharp percussion sounds, which might have been small internal explosions inside the damaged submarine. After that, no further sounds from the submarine were detected. All 109 men aboard the I-52 perished. The sinking of the I-52 was just one of the 996 Axis submarines destroyed during World War II. As noted in a May 1946 article from the Bureau of Navy Personnel, a total of 130 Japanese submarines were sunk during the war. These blockade-running missions were crucial for keeping Germany's war industry supplied with essential materials. According to a German naval operations diary from December 1943, the escort submarines that accompanied blockade runners were expected to sacrifice themselves if necessary to ensure that the cargo made it through safely. In the end, the combination of Allied code-breaking, advanced detection sensors, skilled aircrews, and effective weapons all worked together seamlessly to bring down the I-52. This dealt a heavy blow to both Germany and Japan, cutting off valuable supplies that could have fueled their war efforts further. If you found this video interesting, please support the channel World War II Reels by liking,